Christmas music has the power to bring people together, but what if one famous carol did more harm than good? In 1984, a holiday anthem was written to fight famine in Africa, uniting voices around the globe. But beneath the charity and good intentions lies a story of controversy, unintended consequences, and a deeper impact on an entire continent. What went wrong, and what can we learn from it? So, what was the real situation in Africa at the time of the song's release? In the mid-1980s, Ethiopia was struck by a catastrophic famine that became one of the most devastating humanitarian crises of the 20th century. From 1983 to 1985, a prolonged drought caused widespread hunger. The situation was further worsened by the policies of the Derg, a military junta that seized power in 1974. As a result, the famine led to the tragic death of an estimated 1.2 million people. While the drought was a significant factor, it was the human policies of forced resettlement and collectivization under the Derg regime that amplified the crisis. Entire communities were uprooted, and vital resources were diverted toward military campaigns. International aid organizations struggled to deliver food and medical assistance as conflict zones remained inaccessible. This dire situation demanded global attention. In the 1980s, Bob Geldof, lead singer of the Boomtown Rats, set out on a mission to combat famine in Ethiopia. Inspired to rally global support, Geldof aimed to use music as a unifying force. This resulted in the iconic charity supergroup Band Aid, and later the global concert Live Aid. This was a bold attempt to address one of the 20th century's most devastating tragedies. On November 25, 1984, popular artists including Phil Collins, Sting, Bono, Paul Young, Boy George, and members of Duran Duran and Spandau Ballet gathered at Sarm West Studios in London to record the song Do They Know It's Christmas? The single quickly became a massive hit, selling over 3 million copies and raising millions of pounds for famine relief efforts. The sheer scale of the project was unprecedented. Live Aid, held in July 1985, became a cultural phenomenon, broadcast to an estimated 1.9 billion people across 150 nations. It raised over $125 million, providing a lifeline for millions suffering from famine. Geldof's efforts demonstrated how celebrity influence and mass media could mobilize action on an extraordinary scale. Despite its massive popularity, Do They Know It's Christmas faced sharp criticism. Concerns arose about the transparency and effectiveness of Band Aid's fundraising efforts. Allegations surfaced that funds meant to aid famine relief in Ethiopia were misappropriated, with claims suggesting they were used to purchase weapons, further aggravating the conflict in the region. A 1990 report revealed that rebel groups allegedly diverted aid supplies, exchanging them for weapons or selling them on black markets. These revelations sparked outrage and cast doubt on the impact of Band Aid's efforts. Critics argued that the initiative, while well-intentioned, lacked oversight and accountability, allowing resources to fall into the wrong hands. The song's lyrics also came under fire for perpetuating negative stereotypes about Africa. Think about it. Why would a continent, which is for a large part Christian, not know when it's Christmas? Other lines like, "Where nothing ever grows, no rain or rivers flow," ignored Africa's diversity, while "Thank God it's them instead of you" was deemed insensitive and tone-deaf. Such portrayals painted a monolithic image of despair, overshadowing Africa's resilience and cultural richness. Moreover, some African activists and academics pointed out that the narrative centered Western saviors, while sidelining the voices of those directly affected. According critics, by focusing on charity rather than systemic change, initiatives like Band Aid risked oversimplifying complex issues and reinforcing dependency. Almost 30 years later, Bob Geldof revived the Band-Aid project. This time, it aimed to raise funds for the Ebola outbreak in West Africa. He aimed to raise funds for the crisis by making a re-recording of Do They Know It's Christmas? Originating in West Africa, the Ebola outbreak rapidly escalated into a severe public health emergency, affecting multiple countries and leading to significant loss of life and economic disruption. The outbreak began in December 2013 in Guinea and spread to Liberia and Sierra Leone, becoming a major public health crisis. By March 2014, the World Health Organization, WHO, had been notified, and in August, the outbreak was declared a public health emergency. Thousands of lives were lost, and African healthcare workers worked tirelessly to fight the virus. In November 2014, Geldof released Band-Aid 30, a new version of Do They Know It's Christmas? The single quickly became the fastest-selling song of the year, raising $1.6 million in pre-orders and over 312,000 downloads in its first week. But the new version faced the same criticisms as the original. After receiving so much criticism 30 years ago, you might expect Bob Geldof to have refined his approach. But with Band-Aid 30, history seemed to repeat itself. The updated lyrics were again perceived as demeaning, reigniting the same controversies surrounding Africa's portrayal as during the original 1984 release. The narrative of the new track misrepresented the scale of the Ebola crisis. While the World Health Organization reported 14,413 confirmed cases at the height of the epidemic, this accounted for a small fraction of the populations in the hardest-hit countries: Guinea, Liberia, and Sierra Leone. Far less than 1% of their populations were affected. Yet, lines like "There's death in every tear" exaggerated the crisis, painting a bleak image of despair and widespread contagion. For many casual listeners, such lyrics reinforce stereotypes of fear and hopelessness, obscuring the effective local and international efforts combating the virus. One of the most contentious lines, Bono's "Well, tonight thank God it's them instead of you," provoked outrage for perpetuating Western privilege. Many found the sentiment not only tone-deaf but deeply insensitive, reinforcing the idea that such tragedies are acceptable as long as they occur elsewhere. This time, African artists voiced their objections. Afrobeat star Fuse ODG declined Geldof's invitation to join the recording, criticizing the song for perpetuating stereotypes of Africa as a continent defined by despair and dependency rather than resilience and strength. Similarly, pop singer Emily Sandé, who participated in Band-Aid 30, publicly apologized for the track's shortcomings. She revealed that more nuanced lyrics recorded alongside Angelique Kidjo had been omitted from the final version, missing an opportunity to reflect Africa's diversity. Critics across Africa echoed these concerns, arguing the song failed to capture the complexities of the Ebola crisis and the continent's vibrant reality. Yet, Bob Geldof remained indifferent. He dismissed the backlash, insisting that the new track's message was a net positive. To him, the criticism only amplified the initiative's impact. For Geldof, the ends, raising funds and awareness, justified the means, even as the debate over its execution and representation deepened. The controversy surrounding Do They Know It's Christmas serves as a cautionary tale about the power of narrative. When well-meaning initiatives fail to respect the complexities of the communities they aim to help, they risk perpetuating harm rather than creating lasting change. The Band-Aid story also raises broader questions about the ethics of humanitarian campaigns. How can fundraisers balance urgency with accuracy? What role should local voices play in shaping narratives? And how can global initiatives avoid reinforcing harmful stereotypes? These questions remain relevant as the world continues to grapple with complex crises.